Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women of all ages, welcome to today's main event. Let's get ready to learn. Dun 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 da 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 dun 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 da da da. Hi! Hello, geometry students. Mr. Zacek back better than ever here in Unit 4. We're moving on to Lesson 4-1. And this is about corresponding parts of congruent triangles and how do we use that in our proofs. So let's read this first sentence here. It says, once you have proven that two triangles are congruent, all the corresponding sides and all the corresponding angles also become congruent. And here's the reason why that's true. So let's just kind of walk through a little bit of what we've talked about. All right, so we're saying basically here, if two triangles are congruent, then all of their corresponding parts are congruent. So all of their corresponding parts are congruent. So let me finish that sentence. So there are three sides and there are three angles, and so all six of those are going to be true, even though we don't need all six in order to prove that the triangles are congruent. Our plans are side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side. So, but it unlocks it now. So this reason here, corresponding parts, I sing this little ditty, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And you get the picture. All right, this is abbreviated CPCTC. CPCTC. So this is always, it must follow a statement that two triangles are congruent. So first, we have to prove that they're congruent. So let's go ahead and do an example here, enough kind of general talk. All right, so given that angle ABD, that's this angle up here, is congruent to angle CBD, that would be this angle up here, and angle BDA down here is congruent to angle BDC, we want to prove a part. Now notice this is not a triangle, this is parts. We're trying to prove parts are congruent. Okay, so we marked our given, and what do we have for free? We have a reflexive property. So I'm going to list the methods we could prove this triangle is congruent. It could be side, side, side. Could be side, angle, side. It could be angle, side, angle, or it could be angle, angle, side. These are the four we've talked about so far. Well, it's not side, side, side. It's not side, angle, side. We've got two angles and a side, and if you'll notice, the endpoints of the side are the vertexes of the angle. That means it's included. Okay, so our plan is angle, side, angle. This is how we're going to get the triangles. Okay, and then the parts we're going to get with corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. All right, so let's go ahead and let's execute this plan. So we're going to start with our givens here. ABD is congruent to angle CBD. Don't forget those angle symbols there. And then angle BDA is congruent to angle BDC. All right, so we've got an angle congruent to an angle congruent to an angle. All right, that's our given, and we need to get a side. So the side we get by the reflexive property. So we have BD congruent to BD. That's true because of the reflexive property. Okay, so now that's our side congruent to a side. So that allows us to prove the triangles are congruent. So we can say triangle ABD is congruent to triangle. If we started with A, we need to go CBD. Okay, and the reason here is angle side angle congruent to angle side angle. All right, so now that we've proved the triangles congruent, we know that their parts are all going to be congruent, their corresponding parts. So we can say that AB is congruent to CB, all right, and the reason is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. And we can just abbreviate it that way, okay? But the key idea, all right, so the big idea here is this reason must, hello spelling, this reason must follow or must come after a statement that two triangles are congruent. Okay, so for us, that was what we did in step 3. All right, so in order for that reason, CP-CTC, corresponding parts of congruent triangles, are congruent. It has to follow a statement that the triangles are congruent. All right, so let's do another one here. And now, again, just talking you through the process. Our goal here is to prove parts. So first, we got to do the triangles. All right, that's how you want to think about it. We're trying to prove parts, so we have to do the triangles. So we've got DB bisects ADC. So this angle and this angle would be congruent, and DB bisects the other one, so this angle and this angle would be congruent. And then for free, we've got the reflexive property. So the triangles we're going to get by angle side angle. Again, the vertexes of the angle are the endpoints of the segment that includes. So we got to do that, and then the parts we're going to get by CP-CTC. But first, triangles. So let's go ahead and write this out. Execute our plan. Again, good idea to have your proof terminology sheet with you. So we've got DB bisects angle ADC, and DB bisects angle ABC given. Now some people might go and number those angles. I'm just going to write them out as letters, and we can actually do these both in the same step because the reason is going to be the same. So it's angle ADB would be congruent to angle CDB, and then angle ABD would be congruent to angle CBD. And the reason for that is if a segment bisects array, that's what we're given, a segment bisecting array. If a segment bisects array, then it divides it, or it divides the angle into two congruent angles. Okay, so we've got an angle pair, we've got two angle pairs actually. So we got an angle congruent to an angle, got an angle congruent to an angle, and we said our plan was going to be, well, we wanted to do angle side angle, so we need to get the side. How do we do that? That's our freebie by the reflexive property. So we say DB is congruent to DB. Okay, that's our reflexive property. So that's our side congruent to a side. Now that unlocks us the ability to say that the parts are congruent. So AD is congruent to CD, and the reason is corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, so I think I'm going to split this one into 2 videos just to keep them a little shorter. But in the next video, we're just going to do more examples with this as well. So keep asking questions, keep working hard, and good luck.